Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Living with S. I am Sharon Mundia, and today we are at Silva Physiotherapy. We're going to talk about rehabilitation medicine. Now, this might seem like something that may or may not be of concern to you, but from the quick conversation I've had with the two therapists before we started rolling the cameras, trust me, you want to listen up, because it seems like if you're pregnant, if you are working out, or maybe you have a disability of sorts that, or had a trauma of sorts, that this is a conversation that you want to hear. I have got two therapists with me. I've got Sarah Konzi, who is a physiotherapist and an orthopedic manual therapist. And I've also got Joseph Waithaka, who's an orthotics and prosthetic specialist. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so why don't we start by defining what that is, because I've read it out and I'm still not entirely sure, especially when it comes to orthotics and and prosthetics. So what is it that you do, Joseph?
Thank you. In prosthetics and orthotics, we deal with disabilities. Orthotic is any kind of medical device that we use to correct or to compensate bone deformity. We normally correct to prevent further progression to progress to permanent disability. So we normally use those external devices, while prosthetics are those appliances that are given out to replace a missing part. Like, for example, if one is amputated of one leg is amputated, we normally give those artificial legs so that we can aid in mobility. So that is a part of prosthetics.
Okay. So the difference between orthotics and prosthetics is that prosthetics, you sort of attach it to your limbs.
Yes.
It's attached to your limbs. But orthotics, it's something, it could be something that you can take off or maybe slide into your shoe or something.
Yeah, in orthotics, you have your leg is there, your head is there, but it has some deformities.
Okay.
So we want to collect.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
Got it. And what about your OMT title? Sarah, what is it that you do?
Okay, I'm a physiotherapist by profession and orthotic manual therapist, whereby we can explain what is physiotherapy. Physiotherapy is a treatment by itself, which aims at treating any injury or disability which has affected a person in either any part of the body, from the head to the toe. And we look at a patient or a person as whole. That's why I said from head to the toe. Dealing more on muscles and joints and movement of the body.
Okay.
Yes.
Mobility.
Yes, mobility, yes.
Okay, and the OMT, that's essentially the same?
OMT
as
now
physiotherapy?
it's a specialist in physiotherapy, where we deal with orthopedic manual therapy. We use hands-on just to bring treatment, just to bring healing.
So you
use our hands.
Okay, you're using your hands to massage, to put pressure, that kind of thing. So I know here at Silva that it's not just orthotics or prosthetics, and it's not just physiotherapy. There's also occupational therapy. So what is that?
Now, the occupational therapy is more therapy in children, because in rehabilitation medicine we have the physiotherapy that deals with what the general mobility of the muscles of the general body. Then there is this the prosthetics and orthotics. Then now the occupational therapy is the third pillar, where they normally deal with kids with disability or kids with bone deformities. For example, they deal with kids with cerebral palsy, because kids with cerebral palsy, they require a lot of exercises because of that involuntary movement of body muscles. So they need to strengthen those muscles. They also need to train on how they can work out to be independent by themselves, rather than just being more dependent.
Right.
In another case, example that we can give is a case of a person with stroke. they require a lot of occupational therapy so that they can gain back or they can restore the functions that they normally do. They are normally called the activities of daily living, the ADLs. They normally deal with those activities of daily living so that now a person can live, even if you're having a disability or having a deformity, you can live more close to the normal life of another of the normal person.
Okay.
Yes.
So how young would the children be who come in for occupational therapy?
Occupational therapy can start up to day 1 of birth.
Oh, really? So is this something that you see through the scans when you're pregnant? You can start to see, oh, there's some muscle deformities or differences in this child?
Mostly for scans, they can only rule out the bone issues, but for muscle, it's until birth. After birth, there is that scoring that is being done by the pediatric, or the nurse in charge who is assisting in midwife. So they normally score the child. At times, you might get a child with low muscle tone. It's normally called hypertonia. So that one you should start as early as day 1. There are some other conditions that are they are noted at birth. So if a condition is noted at birth, then the therapy will commence as early as possible.
Oh, wow, interesting. So tell me about the people that come here. So what kind of patients do you end up taking in, just to give perspective, and to just have an understanding of that?
Okay, when now it comes to physiotherapy, we have all kinds of people because, as I said before, we look at a person holistic, and most of the time they are referred, and those who know about their body, they refer themselves, they come just directly to a physiotherapist. So if I have a patient who has a headache, can come for physiotherapy.
Wait, what? A patient with a headache?
Yes, because you have different types of headaches. There are headaches which are usually because of tension of the neck muscles, and you find blood circulation is not going up well to the brain. So because there's not enough oxygen, you have headache. So what I'll come and do is to release the muscles and allow more blood circulation to the head.
Oh, wow.
So other patients...
That's really interesting.
Yes,
that like a tension coming up this way could cause... So how would someone know that? Would they be able to feel the tension in their neck? Or how
most of the time they don't, but they can say, I feel discomfort. But the whole picture of the patient is, I have an headache. So most of the time they don't know which type of headache is it. So if it doesn't go like within 1 day, 2 days, it's always good to look it more, because you take painkiller, it doesn't go. You take water, it doesn't go. You know, the motions we take for the headaches. So you find most of the time it's that tension.
Okay. So you have people coming in with headaches.
With headaches, with neck problems.
Do you have pregnant women?
Yes, we have pregnant women coming because most of the time they complain of back pains or pelvic pain, of which it's usually because of the changes of the body. When you become pregnant, you find there's laxity of muscles and ligaments, and the normal posture of the body is changed. You find like with the spine, it's more it's more curved, and then now the muscles of the tummy, they are more stretched, and the muscles of the tummy, they originate from the spine, all of them, and now they insert at the front. So you find if the spine is more curved and the muscles are more pushed, the spine becomes weak. And the low back, it's where the center of gravity is. So if it's weak, it cannot hold the spine, it will start protesting with, I have a problem, that is pain. So most of the time, gyna will tell you to take mild painkillers like just Panadol Advance, but in physical treatment, physiotherapy, we encourage you just to relax the muscles and strengthen the spine, because it's the one which is carrying all these muscles. And we have techniques of doing that.
Wow, interesting. So who else do you have coming in here?
We have almost 80% is back pain.
80% is back pain?
Yes. from the upper
Is it
back,
bad?
the
Is it
middle
bad?
back,
Yeah. And why?
and the
Why
low
back
back.
pain?
Most of the time is the normal lifestyle. You find somebody goes to the office and sits 8 hours or more than 2 hours without making a break.
Now you're making me worry about
Yeah.
like my posture. I'm gonna
Yeah,
try and sit up a bit.
most of the time posture doesn't matter, but because you are taking that posture for longer period, it's what brings now the symptoms.
Okay, so posture does matter.
Does
if you-
matter, but it's not really the main cause. Like I can sit just like this, and I sit there like 4 hours without,
Yeah.
without a break.
Yeah.
So I'm putting more weight on the low back because that is where the center of gravity goes. I can sit like slanting.
Yeah.
I'm putting more weight on my, which most of the people do that, on my middle back,
Yeah.
all bending on my laptop or my desktop,
Yeah.
and I put more weight on my middle
Yeah.
back. So people will come with middle back pain, and sometimes they don't know why, so they keep hopping from one doctor to another, wondering why is my back, because sometimes it brings symptoms. If it's the upper back, it can bring symptoms of like you have chest problems, because the muscles around there, they are tight, and there's no freedom of muscles expanding and relaxing, so they squeeze everything, which you find are the lungs around the heart, you know. And sometimes the problem goes to the hands. You find my hand, it's either with tingling sensation or just painful, you can't explain, but the whole problem is because of the spine. And that's why we see more, 80% they are back pains, and before they reach us, they have really hoped because they don't know.
Yeah.
But we wish people to know there's a way you can help yourself. There's what we call ergonomics,
yeah.
Yes, in your sitting. With people, the chairs, the way you should
But surely there's a good posture. There's a way I can sit, and if I sat for 4 hours, I would not have any pain.
But we always encourage people, after sitting for like 1 hour, give yourself a break.
Okay. Stand up.
Yes, if you're in an office, there are stairs, stand, run up to third floor, come back. It will have relieved the pressure which you had put. So we usually encourage people, break a little, go to the toilet, put your dustbin as far as possible, go, yes, you know, there are so many ways of helping you, but you find people are getting too much problem because they don't know, but if they know, it will help them.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh wow. I mean, I think you've given some really good tips, and I had no idea that 80% is back pain. Yeah. So, Joseph, I'm curious to know, I've heard many times before, when it comes, especially when it comes to medicine, prevention is better than cure. Does that apply in your industry, or is there no way to, like given that you're in prosthetics and orthotics, are there things that we could do to prevent?
Yeah, there are things that we normally do to prevent, because as you have said, it's better to prevent than having pain so that you can learn for cure. For example, I could concentrate on the foot, because foot is another problem that is scoring so much in terms of preference. Where people doesn't know where they can get help because of the foot. Because even the foot can bring about the back pain, can bring about hip pain. Because normally the way we are supposed to step with our foot, most of the people doesn't step on in a correct position.
What do you mean?
Yes.
There's a correct way to walk.
Yes.
There is a correct way to...
Wait, I've never heard that. So what's the correct way to walk?
The reason why the foot is very important, the foot carries all the weight of the body. It's normal to carry 50%, left 50%, right 50% of the body. On that foot, there are some specifications, the percentage you are supposed to bear with the heel and also with the football.
Yeah.
So now, if at all now you are bearing more weight on one side than the other, it's a problem. If one foot is bearing more weight maybe on the medial side than on the outside, it becomes a problem.
How would you know? That feels like a science. I'm just walking. How do I know what percentage is on the heel, the ball, the right, the left?
Yeah, at times most of the people notice because of pain, because of strain. If you strain, you just walk for long distance, you are feeling fatigue on the foot, you are feeling a lot of pressure on your knees, then that could be a foot problem.
Your walking could even affect your knees.
Yes.
And you said also your back.
Yes.
Wow, this is so, it's so interesting to me. And actually, recently I did discover that I have a hip problem, partly because of I've been trying to work out more, and it started to activate that it started to ache when I do certain movements, and now it feels like it's getting out of hand. But what my trainer did notice as well, one time as I was just standing, he was like, "Do you always stand like that?" And I said, "Yes." "Why?" And he was showing me, "Well, you've always put pressure then on one leg, and that just makes, it just shows the imbalance." Never had I thought, 30 years, never had I thought, how am I standing? And yet he just was like, "Well, look at that. Can you try the other way?" And when I did, it's almost like my foot could, I'd love for you guys at home right now, if you're at home, if you're in the office, stand up and just stand in your natural position. Are you putting weight on one foot versus the other? And can you try put on both and see how your body responds? Because this stuff matters in the end, right?
Yeah, true. Right. Another thing, does the sole of your shoe wear out one side more than the other side? Telltale. That's a good indication of foot imbalance or weight imbalance.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, so clearly this is a topic that we should all be paying attention to, because there are things that we could be doing so innocently, but I'm sure, down the line it's going to start affecting us and bringing up issues and aches and pains.